The email from my publisher sat unopened in my inbox for 3 hours. After a decade of rejection letters, writer's block, and late-night editing sessions, my debut novel was finally getting published. But instead of celebrating, I was hiding in my home office, dreading the inevitable fallout. "Just open it, Kate," I whispered to myself, clicking on the message that would confirm my launch date. June 15th. The words blazed on my screen like a warning sign. My phone buzzed immediately, as if my mother-in-law Margaret had some sixth sense for moments she could ruin. "Family emergency," the text read. "Come to my house now." I learned in 6 years of marriage that Margaret's emergencies usually involved her daughter Jessica's latest life event. Last month's emergency was choosing the right shade of pink for Jessica's nursery for her third child. Still, I grabbed my keys and headed over, my good news burning unshared in my chest. Margaret's Tudor-style mansion loomed ahead, a testament to old money and even older expectations. Jessica's car was already in the driveway, along with my husband Tom's. Great. An ambush. Finally, Margaret swooped down as I entered, her designer perfume choking the air. "Jessica has the most wonderful news." Jessica sat on the antique sofa, one hand resting on her barely visible bump, the other holding a crystal glass of sparkling water. "We found out it's a girl." "That's great," I managed, though they'd known the gender for weeks. "We're having a surprise baby shower," Margaret announced. June 15th. Everyone who matters will be there. The date hit me like a physical blow. June 15th? But that's perfect, Jessica clapped. "It's a Saturday and I'll be showing just enough." Tom wouldn't meet my eyes. He knew what that date meant. We talked about potential launch dates for months. "I can't come," I said quietly. "That's my book launch date." The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. "Your what?" Margaret's voice could have frozen hell. "My book. It's being published. The launch is scheduled for June 15th. Jessica's face crumpled. "You're choosing your little book over my baby shower." Little book, 10 years of work flashed before my eyes. "This isn't some hobby, Jessica. This is my career." "Career?" Margaret laughed. "Darling, writing isn't a career. It's what bored housewives do between charity luncheons." I looked at Tom, silently pleading for support. He shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe you could reschedule," he suggested. "The publisher might be flexible." Reschedule a national book launch? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Do you have any idea how publishing works?" "Well, I know about real business," Margaret sniffed. "Thomas's father and I built an actual company, not some fantasy stories." My hands shook as I pulled out my phone. "You want to talk about reality, Margaret? Let's talk about how you've tried to sabotage my writing from day one." I opened my archived messages. 3 years ago. "Writers are parasites, dear. They just leech off their hard-working husbands." 2 years ago. "Jessica's pregnant again. You can finally give up that writing nonsense and focus on starting a real family." The messages went on and on. Every discouraging comment, every backhanded compliment, every attempt to schedule emergency family meetings during my writing time, all carefully saved. "I've kept everything," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Every text, every email, every voicemail where you told me I was wasting my time. Would you like me to share them at Jessica's shower? I'm sure your country club friends would love to hear your thoughts on cultural parasites and real jobs." Margaret's face went white. "You wouldn't dare. Try me. I'm done letting you dismiss my dreams." Jessica burst into tears. "Mom, she's threatening to ruin my shower." "Thomas," Margaret turned to my husband, "control your wife." Tom finally looked up, his face unreadable. "Actually, Mom, I've read Kate's book. It's brilliant, and it's time you both showed her some respect." Margaret recoiled as if slapped. "Respect? For what?" "Scribbling stories while Jessica has been building a family. 3 children, Thomas. Your sister has given us 3 grandchildren while your wife plays at being an author." I stood up, my phone clutched like a weapon. "You know what? I've got copies of everything. Every nasty comment about my hobby. Every time you told Tom I was embarrassing the family. Every manipulative message about how real women focus on babies, not books." "Those were private conversations," Margaret sputtered. "And my launch is a private event. Stay away from it or I'll show everyone exactly who you are." Jessica leaped up. "Mom, she can't talk to you like that." Actually, I smiled, feeling years of suppressed anger bubble up. I can. And I will. June 15th is my launch date. Have your shower another day. If you do this, Margaret's voice shook with rage. If you choose your book over this family. You'll what? Tell everyone I'm not a real Matthews. Turn the family against me? Newsflash, Margaret, you've been doing that since the day I married Tom. The only difference now is I'm done pretending it doesn't happen. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Jessica. Congratulations on your third girl. I'm sure she'll grow up learning exactly what her grandmother thinks about women with ambitions beyond baby showers. As I walked out, Tom right behind me, I heard Margaret's shrill voice. Thomas, get back here. But for the first time in our marriage, he didn't turn around. In the car, my hands shook as I forwarded all the archived messages to my computer. I just declared war on your mother. Tom reached over and squeezed my hand. No, you just stood up to a bully, and I should have done it years ago. My phone buzzed with messages from Margaret and Jessica, but I ignored them. Instead, I opened my publisher's email and clicked accept on the launch date. June 15th would be interesting, one way or another. The weeks leading up to June 15th were a masterclass in psychological warfare. Margaret, realizing her direct attacks had failed, switched to more subtle tactics. She began hosting tearful family meetings, where Jessica would break down about her ruined shower plans. The caterer can't change the date. Jessica sobbed during Sunday dinner, and all the good venues are booked. I kept writing down every manipulation attempt, every guilt trip, every tearful phone call. My publisher had already started promoting the launch and early reviews were coming in strong. But Margaret had launched her own campaign. Did you hear? My neighbor caught me getting the mail. Jessica's having complications. Margaret says the shower might be her only chance to celebrate before bed rest. I checked with Jessica's doctor, a family friend who was tired of Margaret's games. No complications, no bed rest, just more lies. Then came the social media assault. Jessica started posting daily countdown updates to her special day, tagging every family member except me. Margaret shared old family photos, all carefully selected to exclude me, with captions about real family values and priorities. They're getting desperate, Tom said, scrolling through his phone. Mom's calling my cousins now, telling them you're having a mental breakdown. I was in my office, finalizing my launch speech when the first bookstore cancellation call came. I'm so sorry, the owner sounded genuinely apologetic. But Mrs. Matthews called. She said your family is planning legal action if we host your launch. Something about defamation. 3 more bookstores called that day. Margaret had been busy. Enough, I said, picking up my phone. I called my publisher. Actually, my editor said after hearing the situation, this could work in our favor. How do you feel about changing venues? The next day, invitations went out for my book launch, now being held at the city's largest independent bookstore, owned by a friend who'd been on the receiving end of Margaret's social climbing attempts last year. Let her try her threats here. Diana, the owner, laughed. I got voicemails of her begging me to host her garden club after the country club banned them. Should we play those at the launch? Margaret's response was immediate. She sent out baby shower invitations to every person on my launch guest list, including my publisher and local media contacts. Same time, same day, Jessica posted smugly on Facebook, "Family comes first." But they'd underestimated how many people were tired of the Matthews family drama. RSVPs for my launch poured in, including several of Margaret's closest friends who'd apparently been keeping receipts of their own. Your mother-in-law told my daughter she was too fat to be in Jessica's wedding, one society matron confided. We've been waiting years for someone to stand up to her. A week before the launch, Margaret played her final card. She showed up at my house with Tom's father in tow. Kate, Richard looked uncomfortable. This feud has gone too far. The family name is being damaged by your wife, not me, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. Would you like to hear what Margaret told the bookstores? Or should we start with what she's been saying about my mental health? Richard turned to Margaret. You did what? It was for Jessica. Margaret's mask cracked. That ungrateful little writer has been trying to steal attention from our daughter's special day. Third baby shower, I corrected. For her third child. Which, by the way, isn't even due for 5 more months. Richard's face darkened. Margaret, we're leaving. Now. He turned to me. I'll handle the bookstores. Your launch will proceed as planned. As they left, I heard him say, "Do you realize we could be sued for defamation?" The day before my launch, Jessica made one last attempt. She called Tom, crying about spotty and hospital visits. Tom called her doctor again. She hadn't been to the hospital in months. "Your sister's lying could actually harm her pregnancy," the doctor warned Tom. This level of stress and manipulation isn't healthy for anyone. That evening, as Tom and I were finalizing launch details, Margaret sent a mass text to the entire family. "Emergency family meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Attendance mandatory for all true family members." I responded to all, "Can't attend. I'll be at my book launch. But don't worry, I've kept recordings of every emergency family meeting for the past 6 years. I'm sure they'll make fascinating material for my next book." The responses were immediate. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to attend my launch. Aunts and uncles started sharing stories of Margaret's past manipulations. Even Jessica's husband messaged privately, "Is it too late to RSVP for the launch? I'm tired of these games." "What do you think I'll do tomorrow?" Tom asked as we went to bed. I shoved in my phone, where RSVPs for my launch had outpaced Jessica's shower 3-1. "I think I'll finally learn that actions have consequences." Mom's never learned that lesson before. "She's never had an audience for her behavior before," I replied. "Tomorrow, everyone will see exactly who Margaret Matthews really is." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a final text from Margaret. "You'll regret this. Family remembers betrayal." I screenshotted the message and added it to my folder. Tomorrow would either heal this family or break it completely. Either way, I was done being silenced. "Ready for tomorrow?" Tom asked, pulling me close. I thought about my book, about the story I fought to tell despite years of discouragement and manipulation. "More than ready. It's time everyone heard the truth. All of it." As I drifted off to sleep, my phone lit up with one last message, this time from Jessica's husband. "Margaret's planning something for tomorrow. Thought you should know." I smiled in the darkness. Let her plan. I had 10 years of receipts ready to go. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. The morning of June 15th arrived with 2 surprises. First, my book had already hit the regional bestseller list based on pre-orders alone. Second, Margaret and Jessica were nowhere to be seen. "Too quiet," Tom muttered as we set up at the bookstore. "Mom never gives up this easily." He was right. Just as the launch was about to begin, with nearly 200 people packed into Diana's bookstore, Margaret made her grand entrance. She swept in wearing funeral black, Jessica sobbing beside her, both carrying stacks of papers. "We're here to stop this farce," Margaret announced, brandishing the papers. "These are cease and desist letters. My lawyer says Kate's book is a malicious attack on our family." I smiled, stepping up to the podium. "Actually, Margaret, my book is a fantasy novel about a young woman discovering her power. You haven't even read it." "But your next book," Jessica wailed, "you threatened to write about us." The crowd murmured. Several phones appeared, recording the drama. "You're right," I said calmly. "I did consider writing about this family. In fact, I pulled out my phone, connecting it to the bookstore's speaker system. Let's give everyone a preview." Margaret lunged forward. "Don't you dare." But I was done being silenced. I played the recordings, years of verbal abuse, manipulation, and threats. With each clip, Margaret's face grew paler. When I reached her bookstore threats, several literary agents in the audience shook their heads in disgust. "Enough," Richard's voice boomed from the entrance. He strode in, followed by Jessica's husband, Mark. "Margaret, Jessica, get in the car. Now." "But Daddy," Jessica started. "Now." Richard rarely raised his voice. "Your mother's actions could get us sued. And you," he turned to Jessica, "lying about medical emergencies. What were you thinking?" As security escorted them out, Margaret turned back. "This isn't over." "Actually, it is," I replied. "Check social media. Your emergency family meeting is trending locally. Apparently, several guests live-streamed your performance." The launch proceeded beautifully after that. I read from my actual novel, signed hundreds of books, and received an offer for a 3-book deal. But the real victory came later that evening. Tom's phone rang during the after-party. It was Richard. "Your mother's going to therapy," he announced without preamble. "Non-negotiable." And Jessica's doctor read her the riot act about faking pregnancy complications. Dad, I'm sorry it came to this, Tom began. Don't be, it's been coming for years. Kate, he addressed me directly. I should have stopped this behavior long ago. I hope someday you can forgive us. 3 months later, my book hit the national bestseller list. Margaret, after intensive therapy, sent a handwritten apology, her therapist's idea, but still progress. Jessica's third daughter was born healthy, though the birth announcement came without any manipulation or drama. You know what's funny? I said to Tom one evening, showing him my latest royalty check. If your mom hadn't tried so hard to stop the launch, it probably wouldn't have gotten so much attention. Poetic justice, he laughed. Speaking of justice, Mom asked if we're coming to Christmas this year. I thought about it. On one condition, no emergency family meetings. Deal, though I have to ask. He picked up my latest manuscript. Is this one really about a manipulative mother-in-law? No, I smiled. But my third book might be. I got plenty of material. We both laughed, knowing that while the family would never be perfect, at least now it was honest. Sometimes the best stories aren't the ones we write. They're the ones we live through, stand up for, and finally tell. As for Margaret, she joined a support group for controlling mothers-in-law. Apparently, she's now the cautionary tale they use in meetings. Sometimes the best revenge is letting someone become their own punchline.